Good afternoon, folks. How are we doing today? I hope we're well. Apologies, it's been a little while since we've done one of these. I've been better at actually doing streaming during the week, but we've not actually done a geeky lunch chat without games for a little bit. But I was actually not in the office today. I didn't have other commitments, so I thought, well, I will make sure I try my best to stick to my schedule, and here we are, until the post-service gods or whoever decides to jinx me during this with an interruption. But there we go. But no, it's really, really good to be here, and really good to see people here. So thank you so much. Right, so let's go through some brief housekeeping before going into the rest of this. What's going on? Well, this weekend I'm going to MCM Comic Con. Every time I bring up MCM, I seem to caveat it with, oh, I'm not planning on going this time, or it's not my favourite convention and stuff like that. And all of that is true, and yet I still seem to keep going. The fact is, it's not my favourite convention, and I'm not going to retread old ground on this one. It's just the fact that, so Dragon Meet and Tabletop Scotland and stuff like that have a very kind of quite an intimate feel in terms of the getting to talk to indie creators, getting to make sure they've got lots and lots of space and stalls for stuff like that, which is really, really great. Whereas MCM is a lot more big and bombastic and commercial. And I guess they sort of both have their places. I think I get a lot more out of the smaller conventions in terms of meeting people and buying cool swag and stuff like that, and doing panels and the like. But MCM is really, really good. I mean, MCM, I'm essentially, the reason why I'm going to MCM, certainly this spring one, is twofold. Firstly, Natural Six are there, and if you're not watching or listening to Natural Six yet, wow, that is an actual play. Really, really worth a listen, and I think a lot more accessible than some shows out there. But time is time. Trying to ask anyone to join a brand new show is quite tough because there's an awful lot to catch up on. But no, I would suggest giving Natural Six a shot. But yeah, they're doing a live show, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them live again. It's also kind of, one of the reasons I go to MCM is it's very good from a networking perspective in terms of potential people to have as guests on my podcast. I will happily flag up that is what I'm doing, to be honest. It is an opportunity to make sure that I can speak to celebrities in the industry, get stuff signed and the like, but also hand up my card, see hopefully if I can get some guests for my show. I mean, it's how I got Deborah Wild for that episode of Short Thoughts, and honestly, it's one of my favourite episodes of Short Thoughts. I got my player's handbook signed. I had a little chat, gave him my card, and we managed to make it work out, which is cool. So absolutely, it's a great networking opportunity, and it is also from a networking perspective. You get there's a different pull in terms of audience, I think. There's some people who go to MCMs who don't go to Dragon Meets and stuff like that. So in terms of, networking with other indie creators, that's another opportunity there. The other reason I'm going this time is, so I have bought a weekend ticket. I don't know if I'll actually be there on the Sunday or not, but I hedged my bets on this one. But I'm going on Friday. Natural Six, see a load of people, good stuff all day. On the Saturday, my wife and my daughter are going to come to MCM, and that I'm really, really looking forward to. That it will be my 5-year-old's first Comic Con. We'll see how it goes. I'm aware that MCM is a lot, so I'm fully expecting that we won't be there the whole day. It may just be the case of, we're there for a bit, or we need to go in and out and stuff like that, but I think she will enjoy it. There's certainly a lot of stuff for kids there. And providing we can not literally keep a leash on her, prevent her running off into the crowds, I think that should be an awful lot of fun. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm going to MCM. So if you're watching this and you are intending to be at MCM, please absolutely come up and say hey. Not a problem. I just, if you see me on the Saturday, just be cool because my kid's there. That would be nice. Any other housekeeping stuff? I mean, not really. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff I probably could talk about, but let's dive into kind of the two big topics I wanted to talk about today. Sorry, I can't get my microphone in the right place. And also, annoyingly, I've got something stuck in my teeth, which you can see me doing this. And trying to surreptitiously and subtly deal with this thing that is annoying me without clearly picking my teeth on stream, which would be horrendous. Oh dear, I'm a professional, honest. Right, so what I was going to talk about, well, I am... I've talked a lot about Little But Fierce in the past. If you don't know Little But Fierce is my... it's kind of my flagship tabletop RPG product. It is a complete rewrite of D&D 5th edition that streamlines the rules, it simplifies the language, it removes harmful tropes, and generally makes it more accessible to kids. In fact, it's designed and marketed to be 5th edition that is playable by kids as young as 6. So I released a starter edition, digital starter edition, a little over 3 years ago, and I've released a number of digital add-ons for that. And the response has been amazing. The response has been... I mean, talk about my flagship product, and that's for two reasons. That's one, because it is the project that I care about the most. I've invested so much, kind of in terms of time and emotionally invested in it. But also, it's the most financially successful of all of mine. I mean, I'm not going to be able to quit my day job anytime soon, but, it does okay. It does okay. And I've been talking for a long time about, well, I did this digital starter edition. It included 4 classes, included enough creatures to get through, enough magic items to get through, etc., etc. But I always wanted to do a big release for it. And I've been saying for ages, yeah, I'm going to do a Kickstarter, hardback edition, physical release, my first physical release. And then I kind of kicked the can down the road for a long time, for 3 years, in fact. And thanks to... the professional pestering, and I asked him to do so, of Rich of Hatchlings Games, we're doing this. We are actually doing this. And this is not just me saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do something. Things are actively afoot in me doing this. So the current plan is that I'm going to launch the Kickstarter page for my 40th birthday. So that's the 28th of August this year. I'm going to launch the Kickstarter page for it. It sets me a very clear milestone that I can't shift. And also, I can shamelessly on the day say, if you want to give me a present, follow the page, please. And then the plan will be that we actually start the campaign properly in March 26th. Exact date to be determined. Sorry, March 26th is in 2026, not March the 26th. That would be a random date, but it could be that. Who knows? We're going to try and keep it as simple as possible, I think. I'm going to try and avoid, huge amounts of stretch goals and stuff like that. I want the stretch goals to be things like more art and stuff like that, rather than producing loads and loads of physical add-ons that will bump up shipping. In the world of tariffs, that creates huge risk and shipping costs and stuff like that. So we're going to try and keep it really, really simple, but it is going to be a hardback physical release that will include all the classes, a load of kin, a load of creatures, random tables, loads of stuff. I think the one big stretch goal I think we are going to do for it will be, at the very least, digital, but hopefully physical as well, one-shot adventure book. And that'll be a chance for me to bring in some writers I admire, both people I've worked with in the past and hopefully some people from the wider industry, to produce a book of one-shot adventures, which we can go with that, which I'm really excited about the possibility of that. But I said things are actively afoot because I've had to kind of fire the starting pistol on this by actually doing stuff. If I'm going to have a page up for August 28th, I need to actually actively be doing stuff. I mean, I've been writing this for a while. I don't have to have written the whole thing by August 28th. I need to really have written the whole thing by the time I get to March, because I don't want to launch the Kickstarter without me having done basically all the writing. But in terms of artwork, and it's not quite official yet, because we need to do things like contracts and the like. But my artist, who is lurking in the room, we've had conversations, we've kind of decided what needs to be done, and we are very, very close to getting that all officially started, so that art is officially being made for this product, so that when I launch that page, I've got beautiful, beautiful things to show you, to tempt you with my wares. But it's very exciting. It is scary. Like I said, it's my first Kickstarter. So I need to do all of that, and Rich is being an absolute legend in terms of, you know, advice and the pitfalls to watch out for and best ways to do stuff, and learning from mistakes or stumbles that, you know, he has made and others he knows have made. So Rich is being absolutely fantastic in terms of his support and consultancy on that one, and we are going to be kind of launching it through Hatchlings Games. It's still going to be my IP. It's not going to be an official Hatchlings product, but we're going to launch it kind of in association with, you know, collaborating with Hatchlings Games, which I think will be really, really good in terms of, you know, expanding my bubble, my audience, with the wonderful people that Rich and Catherine have worked with and have bought their games. So that's really, really exciting. But yeah, I've got a lot to do, and I need to do lots of grown-up stuff, like, you know, business admin and stuff like that in order to get this done. But yeah, it's happening, and I really look forward to when I'm able to show you more of that, and I'm really, really looking forward to once the art is officially kicked off, of seeing what that's going to look like, because yeah, stuff I've been imagining for a long time is actually going to happen. So yay, so that's cool. Let's have a quick swig of drink. I'm not sponsored by Pepsi, by the way. They're just vaguely keeping me alive, unofficially. Kind of the other thing I wanted to talk about today, as I said before, I kind of write some notes of, you know, topics we might discuss on these, and one that came up at the weekend. So if you haven't been watching my recent gaming streams, I've been playing Lego Jurassic World, less so for the Jurassic World part, more for the Jurassic Park part. And as part of that, myself and my friend Tegan, who was in chat, we were talking about Lego games that we would like to see. You know, what franchises that have not been mined and explored by the Lego franchise we would like to see. So we're going to start off there and kind of expand this as well into video games that I would love to see. Some of which I think the sweet spot, the opportunity for them has passed, but still they are a what if that rattle around in my head. And this is going to discount things that I would personally like to do. This is just like established IPs or ideas that I'm surprised no one has done something with, to rattle around. Yeah, I would love to see all these. So let's start off at the start with the notion of what we discussed on stream the other day, which was Lego games that I would love to see that will never happen. Because the fact is, the Lego games are all franchises that are either kind of kid-friendly or you can make them kid-friendly. And I guess that depends on your age of kids, for example. But, you know, we've seen a lot of Marvel ones, we've seen a lot of DC ones. You know, I was playing Jurassic Park. There's things like Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit, and Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, all of which I think are generally quite accessible in terms of being relatively family friendly. You know, depends how old the kids are, but I think they're all kind of good fun franchises that you can certainly very easily remove the scary bits and just have fun with them instead. You know, for example, in the Jurassic Park games we were seeing in Lego Jurassic World, you know, no one dies in them. They always get spat up and shown to be alive at the end, whereas clearly in the movies some of them get eaten in quite grisly ways. But so they're all franchises that you can very easily make kind of Lego friendly. So I give thought to, well, what other franchises that maybe don't fall into that category? And there is one that I have not stopped thinking about since that stream. And it's never going to happen because it is not a kid-friendly franchise. It's just not. Despite what the toy makers of the 90s thought, it is not a family-friendly, kid-friendly franchise. But the franchise is Alien. imagine this. Yes, we are talking xenomorphs. We're talking, from the classic Ridley Scott film up to however far you want to go with this. I still have not seen Alien Romulus yet. I really want to. But I think that franchise, one, I would love to see. There's enough movies in there that you could adapt them. There's enough material that you could have your pretty fun encounters and stuff you could do in those games. But I think taking a franchise like that, which is kind of scary and action-packed, and approaching it with the whimsy of the Lego games, I think would be an awful lot of fun. You can take something quite horrific, like the chest burster leaping out of John Hurt's character, and you could just do it in such a silly fashion that I think it would be an awful lot of fun. I want the scene of the acid blood dripping through the decks and seeing Lego bricks falling down in the Nostromo as they go down the ladders. I just think you could have so much fun with Lego Alien. End of the first Alien game, because it's always got to be, you always got to have that co-op option in Lego games, two characters at one time. So being Lego Ripley and Lego Jonesy the cat escaping from the Nostromo at the end would be brilliant. I mean, Aliens, just frankly, any of it will be brilliant, with, Lego Hicks and Hudson and all of them, Vasquez. I just think it would be so much fun. I think even the weaker entries in the franchise, like Alien Resurrection, I think would be very fun as Lego games. So it's never going to happen. Of course it's never going to happen. It would be a lot of fun. It really, really would. And as I said on that stream, I try not to think about the Alien versus Predator movies, because they're just not good. But if you took it as a larger franchise, the Alien versus Predator franchise, of which there are many excellent video games, I understand some pretty good graphic novels as well. I think, Lego Predator as well, I think would be a lot of fun. Again, there are maybe more duds in that franchise than there are in the Alien franchise, but either way, I think they would just be so fun. They really would. And come on, Lego Xenomorphs would look so cute. You can't get around that. They would be freaking adorable. So, Lego Alien, possibly versus Predator. That is the first one on my list of video games I really want to see, but will probably never happen. And please, I encourage you, spit out ideas you've got for other franchises that will never get the Lego treatment, but would be brilliant. The next one is a very specific one, which is, and it's past its time of when you could do it, realistically. I mean, absolutely it does. But I've spoken about this franchise before, and if you have not seen this show, you really need to. I'm talking about Battlestar Galactica, the reimagined version that came out in 2004. Now, a little bit of context for this one, if you have not seen it and you've not heard me ramble on about it before. So, Battlestar Galactica originally came out in the 70s, 80s. It wasn't 60s, was it? When did Battlestar Galactica originally come out? Original series. It was 70s, right? 78 it came out. But it came out and it was very kind of Flash Gordon-y. It was very camp. It was very, very shiny. And it's a lot of fun. But then in 2004, Ronald D. Moore, who people of my generation will know as the writer of some of the best episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, he reimagined it, and it is grounded and it's gritty, and it explores the human drama of what would happen, genuinely what would happen from a societal perspective if most of humanity was wiped out and you've only got like 5 figures of people left. I forget the actual number off the top of my head, but if you've got that fewer people, how does that impact you? And you're in a vehicle in space, with limited resources, what you can do for oxygen and water and stuff like that. It is an amazing, amazing TV series that still stands up. And I'm not just saying that in a nostalgic, oh, it still stands up, and actually it's janky as all heck. No, it still stands up. It's really, really good. So if you've not watched Battlestar Galactica, I would strongly recommend watching it. But I'm not just talking about the show here. I'm talking about a video game I would love to see. Now, one of the first video games I ever played on a PC, ignoring things like Doom and stuff like that, was the X-Wing series, specifically X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. So I have a huge soft spot for sci-fi flight simulator games. And there's a lot of good ones out there, but X-Wing versus TIE Fighter holds a special place in my heart. But I would love to have seen a Battlestar Galactica flight simulator game. Not just because of my love of the franchise, though I think you could do an awful lot with it, but there's two specific things that I think would make this really, really good. One is a practical thing from a gameplay perspective, and the secondly is jumping through a hoop in a graceful manner. So the first one is, why would it make a good game? Well, it would make a good game because of the physics of Battlestar Galactica. In fact, the Battlestar Galactica is very grounded in a lot of ways. So if you see the dogfights, the spaceship battles in Battlestar Galactica, they accept the fact that it's in space and there is no air, and there's no air resistance. So if something's going, it keeps going unless it gets stopped. And you see in the visual effects of the ships, you can see little jets that do the propulsion and the maneuvers and stuff like that, to the degree that you will see ships flying along, hit their jets to spin around 180, carry on travelling backwards and shooting, which is very, very cool. Or flying sideways and stuff like that, because you just do jets sideways and there's no air resistance, so it doesn't matter that it's not the correct sort of... it's not sleek enough in the right sort of ways for air resistance. So I think flying a ship like that, I think, would be an awful lot of fun. I mean, realistically, unless you are just incredibly talented, you probably have to play it third person. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle with navigating everything around you. But I think from a gameplay perspective, that would be an awful lot of fun. The other thing about it that I think, again, it's a really specific thing, but in a lot of video games, you have a choice between playing a very clear set protagonist with a clear name, or you get to create your own character, and unless they want to have an absolute nightmare with voicing, they essentially have to give them a pseudonym. A classic example would be, a current example would be the latest Dragon Age, Veilguard. You play a character called Rook, that is their chosen name that they use for their mercenary stuff, but you get a bit of flexibility in their name. Equally let's stick with Dragon Age, in the second one you play a character called Hawk, and that's their surname, and you don't have to be specific about their first name. In the third one you play the Inquisitor. You can name them anything you like, but people will refer to you as the Inquisitor. Or in the first one you're the Warden, and people refer to you as that. And it's a way of getting around the fact that it's without being pigeonholed to, you are playing this specifically named character, which is fine, but people do like being able to create their own characters. But you can get around it. If you give them a name, that means all the voice actors can refer to you as that name or that title, rather than just coughing over the fact that they don't know your name. I can picture what the tutorial mission would be like in the Battlestar Galactica game. Your tutorial mission will be you being taken out as a Rook, your first flight, because they're always training up new pilots, and you will have Starbuck, and ideally you'd have Katie Sackhoff playing Starbuck, will be your instructor throughout the tutorial. And then at the end of the tutorial, you're going to do something really stupid, in terms of like your landing, or something's going to happen. There's going to be an event that happens during the tutorial that probably kicks off the plot of this game. And the way in the cutscene that your character responds to it will be how Katie Sackhoff Starbuck gives you your call sign, which will be based on that stupid thing. Because they embrace the fact in Battlestar Galactica that very few characters have cool. Some of them have cool call signs, but a lot of them have silly call signs based on what they've been given, based on the stupid things they did, like you got Crashdown and Boomer and stuff like that. So Starbuck would give you your call sign, and then that will be the name that everyone calls you throughout it. And I think that could work really, really well. Yeah, and it's a tiny little thing, but I can see it so really, I can see it so vividly, so clearly. But that's a game that'll never get made, because one, even when it was in its prime, it wasn't watched enough. You know, it wasn't, you know, Star Trek big or Star Wars big or anything like that. You know, and if you wanted to make it well, you'd have to invest a lot of money into it. You'd want a really good studio doing it, and it never had that following. It never had that position in the kind of cultural zeitgeist that you could chuck a load of money at it. But if they had done it, I think that would have been a really great game. Yeah, Battlestar Galactica 2004 reimagined version, I think would have made an amazing flight simulator game, and sadly we'll never see it. Right, next one on the list. I want to see Grand Theft Auto or a similar franchise with an old protagonist. If you have seen, there are two movies out there based on graphic novels which are called Red, Retired Extremely Dangerous. And they're a lot of fun. You've got Bruce Willis, you've got Morgan Freeman, you've got John Malkovich, you've got Helen Mirren in the second one, who are all retired assassins who are brought out of retirement. And they get to show the fact that they are still absolutely lethal and the best in the business against all these young people. Give me a Grand Theft Auto or similar like that. I don't want to be like a 20-something or 30-something, you know, gangster, you know, kids just starting out. I want to be the old person coming out of retirement. I want to be playing a protagonist who is voiced, I mean, by Helen Mirren or Danny Glover or someone like that, where you just get to spend the whole time being sarcastic and crotchety, and showing these whippersnappers a thing or two about what real gangsters are like. I think that would be so fun, and I think immediately the tone of it is fun. Because rather than being our generic, we're you know, the cool people in Miami or LA or, you know, coming over from Eastern Europe, or, you know, it's less about that cool factor in it, trying to be edgy and cool. You just get to embrace the fun of the I'm too old for this shit, which I think it's the reason why I think that Die Hard 4 is actually a really good movie, because they strike the right tone of I'm too old for this shit. In a way that, for example, the fourth Indiana Jones film didn't. It tried and failed in that regard. But the second you've established that your protagonist will be underestimated by everyone they encounter, they will be potentially slightly out of touch with modern technology. You know, that's not how we did it back in my day. You get sarcastic comments about the music on the radio that comes out. Yeah, I think everywhere along that, you're going to be having so much fun with playing, again, this cantankerous, was retired, but something happens in the tutorial mission that, you know, pulls them back in. Just when you think they're out, they get drawn back in, and, you know, Grand Theft Auto with a cranky old person as the protagonist would be great. You would take a lot of the fun of the crotchety characters from Red Dead Redemption and go even more so. Like, give me this protagonist in their like 60s or so, or 60s or 70s or something like that, and it would just be fun. So yes, give me that. That would be an awful lot of fun. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, old protagonist. It would be great. It would just be great. Two more left on my list. Undoubtedly, there are more spinning around in my head, but these are the two more that I jotted down in advance of this. So, this one again, I think the time has been missed for when I think it would be best to do it. But Marvel. Now, when they started the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they started doing video game tie-ins of dubious quality. Yeah, they did an Iron Man game, they did a Captain America game, I think they did a Thor game, and they all were kind of meh kind of reception. But we do know you can do some really, really good Marvel video games, like a lot of the recent Spider-Man games are very, very good. And you know they've had great success with actually the Lego games and stuff. But I think there's two options you could do for really tapping into the MCU. The first one, let's go for the more extreme option, would be doing essentially the entire Infinity Saga. So going from, well, it depends if you do it chronologically or not, but essentially going from Iron Man up to Avengers Endgame, I think would be brilliant. Or you could reduce the scope and just go through the Avengers movies, you know, maybe including Captain America Civil War and stuff like that, but hopping between characters, I think you could have an awful lot of fun with that. Or if you wanted to do a bit of a spin on this one and not quite do it that way, you could play a character who happens during those events. So, for example, if you played, I don't know, a SHIELD agent who is doing their own sort of thing throughout all of this, and kind of threads in and out of these familiar cinematic episodes, that could be an awful lot of fun. I would love to see. I mean, honestly, I would love to play through the Infinity Saga, all of that. I think it would be brilliant if you did it well, if you did it very well, because obviously there was an Avengers game relatively recently, and apparently it was just smash this and smash that and collect this and collect that. I think you could do it well, but I think it would be hard. I think if you did play, for example, a SHIELD agent, you know, an Agent Coulson type character who goes throughout the whole thing, you know, they go through all the SHIELD stuff, they go through the fall of SHIELD, you get everything that happens in between. I think it'd be difficult to thread through every single movie, because the second you go off world and stuff like that, they're not going to be involved in that, but you could do a lot of it. You could be involved in an awful lot of the Earth-based events that happen leading up to Endgame. And you could be one of the characters that comes out of the portals for that final fight with Thanos at the end. Not sure which portal you'd be coming out of, but, you know, whether you're coming from Wakanda or Kamatage or something like that. Kamatage should be fun. Retired, you know, SHIELD agent who ends up learning the mystic arts. I mean, that'd be a hell of a shift in genre halfway through. But you could have a lot of fun with all sorts of stuff along those lines. But yeah, that would be fun. Or similarly, if you took the Netflix shows that we're now seeing more of in the form of Daredevil Born Again, I think you could do a similar sort of thing. You know, so we have those Netflix shows, they had the Defenders characters. So they had Daredevil, they had Jessica Jones, they had Luke Cage, and they had Iron Fist. And they all had individual stories and individual seasons, and then they came together in the Defenders, which was okay. You know, it wasn't brilliant, but it was okay. I think... Oh, and you're the Punisher as well. Not technically one of the Defenders, but yeah, he was running around and involved in a lot of this stuff. But, if you played another character, you know, another grounded kind of street-level character, you know, I'm thinking someone like White Tiger or someone like that. My brain's gone blank on other kind of street level characters that you could do with it, but you know, there are a lot of them out there. Moon Knight would have been a great example. They hadn't clearly they've done Moon Knight now in the MCU proper, but you could do your own origin stuff, and then you could then weave in and out of those events, you know, and whether you did it as the other heroes don't realize you're there until you come together at the end, or it's like, well, actually we're just going to do a retelling of those stories and Defenders, but with an extra character in there, which, you know, means it's similar but a slightly alternate history thing, which means you don't have to stick 100% to the script of how those shows went, because you can mix it up a bit based on how having, you know, White Tiger or Moon Knight or someone like that in there really changes the mix of how those stories went. And the fact it's kind of grounded in street level gives it it means you don't have to do the bombastic scope of an Infinity story, but like an Avengers level story. But I think that would have been good. I think something like that would be good. But again, I think the window for it has passed. Certainly for the Netflixy one. I mean, I would love to see a really good Daredevil game. I'd love to see a really good Punisher game or anything like that. But the fact that you had this period in time where it's like, well, here's to here, I've got the main plot, and now I can weave a character in and out of it. I think that would be very, very fun, but I think they've missed the opportunity for something like that. And the final idea I've got for you of a video game I would like to see, and maybe this has been done, maybe this has been done, but I think in the world of multiplayer games that we're in right now, I think there is a possibility for something like this. I would like to see a really ambitious, kind of Mission Impossible style espionage capture the briefcase game. And by capture the briefcase, if you don't know what I mean by that, it might not be the correct term anymore, but I think it's... I first heard it in the kind of N64 games. You capture the flag, where there is a flag somewhere. You've got to go to it. You've got to try and bring it back to your base. So there's one flag that you've got to get and bring it back. Capture the briefcase was always you had to go into their base, get the thing, and get it back to your base while they were trying to steal your briefcase, essentially. I think if you did something which was kind of maybe massively multiplayer, or certainly very large, where you've got like 30, 40, 50, 60 people in one game, I think that would be brilliant. I think if you had the bases being, I don't know, embassies or something like that, or, big old office blocks or something like that, and you had this whole, how are you going to get in? How are you going to steal the stuff? How are you going to get your way past the guards? The guards who may be NPCs, or there might be other players. You want to have loads of avenues for doing it. You want to have how you're going to get into the vault. There shouldn't just be one way to get in. There should be a multitude of ways. Now, the last time I mentioned a kind of heist thing, people reference Payday to me, which I have not played any of them. I understand that's kind of crime-style games where you're kind of breaking into banks and stuff like that. And I think there'll be elements of that. But I think the fun of a really massively multiplayer game where you're trying to break into the other person's base, steal stuff, and then survive through the streets of cars and guns and stuff like that, but maybe in an Assassin's Creed-y sort of way, in that it can't just be open warfare in the streets. It has to be, you are spies, you are infiltrators, whether you're from an organization or a government or something like that, and you actually have to be doing all of this, but you have to not be noticed by the main authorities, because if, let's say, it's stealing intelligence data from this other organization or this other embassy, that can't be seized by the police. If it's seized by the police, everyone's in big trouble. So you've got to get the other person's stuff, you've got to get it back to your base, but you can't be spotted by the authorities. And as long as there were loads of different avenues for doing it, I'm imagining, you've got ground level people, you've got snipers on rooftops, you've got people doing the tech side of things, with drones and the like. And how all these threads weave together in terms of the multitudes of ways you can break into it. There's probably elements that are a little bit like Rainbow Six Siege, where you've got people just holding down the room that's got their stuff in it. I want people being able to cut the power to the building by going down into the sewers. That deactivates a lot of the electronic defenses. My brain keeps going on the load of directions you could go with this. I just think it could be an awful lot of fun. And the fact that we have games like Battlefront, and we've got, Fortnite and stuff like that, where people are used to playing these really big multiplayer games now, I think that would be so much fun, playing something where you've got two rival spy organizations trying to break into the other person, steal their stuff, get out, don't get noticed by the authorities. Yeah, that could be fun, especially if you had things like radio channels in it as well. The possibility that you could overhear their radio chatter and stuff like that, and you've got to, bluff on information that's being thrown out there. I think there's something there. I think it could be an awful lot of fun. It's how you narrow the scope without making it too narrow. So yeah, I think that would be an awful lot of fun. Okay. I sadly need to go back to my day job in just a second, so I shall wrap this up. First of all, thank you very much for joining me today. The next regularly Oh, good grief. Regularly scheduled stream will be Wednesday lunchtime. We'll be doing Geeky Lunch Chat with games. I think in all likelihood we're going to be playing more 2 Point Hospital because I'm absolutely loving that. So join in for more utter silliness in that. Yeah, Wednesday lunchtime. I am DC Bradshaw on both Twitch and YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to both, please consider doing so. That would be awesome. I have a coffee, which is there, coffee.com/DC Bradshaw. Funds for that just go towards funding my writing stuff, funding the subscriptions I need to be making tabletop RPG content, for making my podcast, Short Thoughts, so that I don't have to take those subscriptions out of the very limited amount of profits I get out of these things. And now I'm going to have a Kickstarter in full flight soon. I really need to be, every little helps in terms of investing into that to help me do the stuff I want to do. What else? If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at dcbradshaw.com on Blue Sky. I'm at DC Bradshaw on Threads as well. I think that's kind of it. I think we're going into raid territory now. So who is on? We've got Eminog and we've got Tiggy. I think we'll raid Tiggy. Tiggy, if you've not seen, Tiggy has Tiggy always does spectacular cosplay and makeup and stuff, but today she has got this kind of tiefling vibe, which I imagine will appeal to many people. So I think we're going to do a raid of Tiggy. If you are not in Twitch land, if you're over in YouTube land, you're just going to get the end screen, but we'll hop across and show Tiggy our love. Right, I think that is about it. So I'm going to hop over to my end screen. Hopefully I'm going to see you on Wednesday. And if you are going to MCM Comic Con, feel free to say hey. Absolutely fine. I'll be there on both Friday and Saturday. Alrighty. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.